Friends, who is a woman, who is a man? This is not a question, but a decision of society. This is a story that neither asks too many questions nor gives answers to the truth that we all somehow avoid. To know the story, let's go straight to the movie. So, in the beginning, we see that this story is from Rajasthan, where sunlight filters through a window in a small room. In the circle of that light sits Sanwari. Her head is bowed, her hair disheveled. Then the door slowly opens. Harinder enters. A pimp with his disgusting face. He has some clothes in his hand. He throws them towards Sanwari and says, "Your marriage has been fixed. Get ready." Tears start flowing from Sanwari's eyes. But Harinder did not approve of these tears. He gets angry and kicks Sanwari hard in the stomach. Harinder says, "Don't drama so much. Get ready quickly." Sanwari is forced to change her clothes. That too in front of Harinder. She stands ready. Harinder laughs and says, "Who would say that you are not a woman, you are just one." And here it is revealed that Sanwari refuses to marry because she knows her truth and fears that the person she marries might abandon her. After some time, two men come to Harinder's house. Bhairav and Banwar. Bhairav has come to see a girl for his nephew's marriage. Everyone is sitting. They wait for Sanwari to arrive. Sanwari comes out of the room. She walks slowly. Harinder steps forward and says, "Remove the veil, her name is Sanwari." Sanwari is silent. Her head is bowed. Harinder comes near her and without hesitation points to her body. Look at her waist, back, gait, everything. But Banwar hesitates and asks to see Sanwari's documents. First, the identity card, all the papers should be clear. Harinder smiles. "Oh, you should have told me earlier. Now if you want to see the papers, it will cost extra." Bhairav gets angry. He scolds Banwar, "Do you want a wife or her documents? Do you want to see a woman or her certificates?" Banwar becomes silent. Harinder is about to leave, saying, "If you people don't take her, there are others. I'm leaving." But Bhairav again scolds Banwar. "Marry her here. Don't think too much." Then he looks at Harinder and says, "Let's finalize the deal for 500. Banwar hesitates a little but then takes out the money and hands it to Harinder and also says, "Arrange for a priest, I will take her only after marriage." A simple wedding takes place. 4 people in Harinder's house, without any fanfare, just like a ritual. Then the 3 of them get on a bus and leave. As they get off the bus, there is a slight smile on Banwar's face. As if he has received something for the first time. A wife, an identity. Sanwari is still silent. No color on her face. All along the way, there is just wind, dust, and fear in her mind. The sun is quite strong. Banwar himself is drenched in sweat. But still, he gives his handkerchief to Sanwari. "Wipe your face." But then Bhairav taunts, "Why have you started pampering your wife already? A wife is like a shoe on your foot. Keep her carefully." A man comes to congratulate Bhairav. "Congratulations, uncle. Now you will also be served." Bhairav laughs and says, "We don't need anything. Just 2 meals a day and a grandson." What is a daughter-in-law for Bhairav? Bhairav's thinking shows his mentality towards women. Anyway, the camel cart reaches home. Everyone slowly goes inside the house. It's night. The wedding celebration is going on. Some men from the village are sitting and chatting amidst laughter. Bhairav has still maintained the old tradition. A palanquin will come to this house, but a palanquin will never leave this house. Everyone smiles as if a very important thing has been said. This clearly means that there will only be boys in this house, and if a girl is not found, then pick one up from another village. Some women from the village stare at Sanwari from top to bottom. Uncle and nephew have made a good deal. Got a lot for a low price. Sanwari is hearing everything but cannot say anything. Now the target of all the conversation is Banwar. "Hey, it's your first night. Be careful." Banwar is silently smiling. Then he slowly asks his uncle, "Can I go to her now, uncle?" Bhairav laughs. Banwar can't wait now. "Go, son, go. Tonight is yours." Bhairav comes into the room. As soon as he enters, he lifts Sanwari's veil and tries to get close to her. But Sanwari tries to stop Banwar. Sanwari nervously says, "Won't you ask me anything about myself?" But Banwar is engrossed in his own excitement. He doesn't want to hear anything, and the lantern is put out. At the same moment. Now in the same room, both Banwar and Bhairav are sitting silently with their heads bowed. Banwar keeps repeating one thing, "Got her for 500, uncle." Bhairav gets up in anger and directly enters Sanwari's room and starts beating her mercilessly. But then Banwar intervenes. Leave her. Sanwari, crying, grabs Banwar's feet. I was forced. If I had refused, Harinder would have killed me. Anyway, the whole room is now silent. Where everyone is now sitting quietly. Banwar says, crying, that he lost his land and didn't even get a woman. Just then, Bhairav stands up and says that they should go to Harinder. But Sanwari stops him, saying that he is a dangerous man and if they have to go, they should go to the police. Maybe they can help them. And the next morning, Bhairav and Banwar both take their bicycles and head towards the police station. On the way, Bhairav stops, takes a breath, and says, if the matter reaches the police, there will be a lot of disgrace. Banwar's eyes fill with tears. My 500, uncle. Bhairav speaks a bitter truth. You won't get that back anyway, and on top of that, the disgrace is separate. Banwar angrily says, what should we do now? But Bhairav explains to Banwar and asks him to go home. As soon as they both enter the house, they find a strange silence. A different kind of cleanliness is seen in the house. Their courtyard is completely clean, and Sanwari is sitting near the stove. She is cooking something. Seeing all this, Bhairav and Banwar's eyes widen. Bhairav comes and sits on the cot. Sanwari, without saying anything, serves food on a plate and places it in front of Bhairav and softly says, Mother used to say that one should not leave the house on an empty stomach. Bhairav says nothing. He just looks at Sanwari for a few moments. Then he slowly picks up the pot, washes his hands, and starts eating the roti. He looks at Banwar for a moment and slightly gestures with his head to eat the roti. Sanwari did not ask anything from these people. Neither forgiveness nor respect. She just gave what a woman always gives. Home, food, and silent service. Banwar slowly asks, did you eat anything, Sanwari? Sanwari shakes her head no. Banwar calmly says, go, you eat the roti too. Sanwari quietly picks up the plate and sits down, when Banwar again says, go inside and eat. Bhairav once again repeats the same old thinking. A woman has only two jobs. One is to fulfill a man's needs, and the other is to manage the kitchen. She cannot do the first job. She will manage with the second. At least the 500 rupees worth of roti will be digested. Banwar says nothing. He just bows his head. Perhaps his anger has now subsided. Banwar comes inside the room. He slowly asks, do you know all the housework? Sanwari says, yes. Mother never let me go out. I learned everything by staying at home. Banwar laughs. He slowly takes out a piece of jaggery and puts it in her hand and says, okay, then you stay here. Sanwari eats the jaggery and just keeps looking at Banwar, and then some time passes. Sanwari has come to the well to fetch water. A village woman smiles and says, I haven't seen you since the face showing ceremony. Sanwari gets nervous. She says nothing. She just asks for directions to leave and quickly leaves from there, and then at night, Sanwari is pressing Bhairav's feet and after that, she comes to her room where Banwar is asking about his uncle. Meanwhile, Sanwari is slowly preparing to sleep. But then Banwar suddenly asks her to press his hand. Sanwari, feeling a little hesitant, says, I thought you might not like my touch. Banwar replies with a slight smile. For the past 5 months, I have been eating rotis made by your hands. How can I not like your touch? And just like that, 5 months pass. Slowly, conversations continue. Sanwari, for the first time, tells Banwar all the bitter truths of her childhood, how people used to turn away when they saw her, and now she herself lives by avoiding everyone's gaze. Tears start flowing from her eyes while talking. Banwar wipes her tears and lovingly asks, will you come to the fair with me? But she asks Banwar, will your uncle let us go to the fair? Banwar laughs and says, leave all that to me, and then she puts out the lantern and goes to sleep. The next morning, Bhairav is sitting on his cot. In front, in the kitchen, Sanwari is cooking something near the stove, and Banwar is preparing to sell carpets. As soon as he lifts the heavy bundle, he suddenly falls. He groans in pain. Bhairav rushes over. Banwar says, Uncle, I think my hand is broken. How will I go to the fair alone now? Bhairav thinks for a moment. Then he says, take Sanwari with you. Banwar still talks to Sanwari with a little respect in front of his uncle. And now at the fair, where Banwar and Sanwari together decorate their carpet shop. An unspoken intimacy is reflected in their conversation. It seems that their bond is now getting quite good. Just then, a modern tourist girl comes there to buy a carpet, which Sanwari sells to her by talking in broken English. Banwar sits nearby and watches her and is happy. In the joy of the first sale, he gives the money to Sanwari and says, "Keep it, it's your first earning." After this, both of them get busy selling carpets, and all the carpets are sold before evening. Sanwari laughs and says, "Today was indeed a very good day," and Banwar, as if wanting to make her happiness sweeter, gives Sanwari colorful ice pops and just keeps looking at her. The fair ends. Both return home in a camel cart. On the way back home, they enjoy their whole day. As soon as they reach home, Bhairav is eating peanuts outside, and then Bhairav taunts Banwar, saying, "I thought you two would stay at the fair." Banwar also smiles and replies, "Uncle, all the carpets were sold, that's why it got late, and also, we earned 3,000. He puts all the money in his uncle's hand, and Bhairav, happy with Banwar's earnings, gives him 50 rupees as a tip. He sends Banwar inside and tells Sanwari in the same old strict tone, "Go, make food." Sanwari quietly goes inside without saying anything. After finishing her work, Sanwari comes to her room. Banwar is already waiting for her. Sanwari is about to take out the carpet and sit down. Just then, Banwar holds her hand. "Stop, I brought something for you," and he places small earrings on her palm. Sanwari's eyes light up. No one had ever given her so much affection in such a small thing. Banwar says, "Wear them." Sanwari, a little shy, says, "You put them on me." And this is the moment when two strangers, who were bound by a forced bond, now start coming closer to each other willingly. Banwar touches Sanwari for the first time, and for Sanwari, this is the first time someone touches her like this, with love and respect. Yes, even though Sanwari is a eunuch. That's why they both feel each other in a way that they are comfortable with. The next morning, Sanwari gives lassi to Bhairav. When she asks for herself if she can drink it, Bhairav snaps, "You always keep asking for food. Go, give it to Banwar in the field." But Sanwari doesn't need anything more than this, she just smiles, perhaps that's what she wanted. She takes the lassi and goes towards the field, but instead of giving it directly to Banwar, she hides it behind a tree. Banwar smiles, picks up the pot, drinks the lassi, and calls out, "Come out, I understand you are here." Sanwari comes out shyly. Banwar asks, "How did uncle let you come?" Sanwari smiles and replies, "I just came." She shows Banwar a painting on a paper. Ardhanarishvara, half man, half woman. Banwar keeps looking at that picture for a long time. Then he says, "Perhaps God has also given me this blessing in your form." Friends, everyone must have heard this story of why Shiva took the form of Ardhanarishvara, so that creation could be operated and both the male and female aspects could be shown. At night, Bhairav is chatting with some men from the village, where everyone is talking about how women should be kept. Because in their eyes, a woman is just a shoe on the foot who has no right to speak. But in the course of conversation, a man from the village tells Bhairav when he will play with his grandsons, and hearing all this, Bhairav becomes completely numb, wondering how this will be possible. And now, while eating, Bhairav is already quiet and irritated. While eating, Banwar talks about the field. With a heavy heart from the villagers' talk, his gaze falls on Sanwari, and he taunts, "The 500 rupees also have to be recovered." Var takes a deep breath and says, "You talk as if she's not a human being." But for Bhairav, the truth is, Sanwari is just a commodity. With the same indifference, he asks her to turn up the heat, and then says, "Go to the doctor in a day or two. Ask him for infertility medicine." Surprise appears on Bavar's face. He looks at his uncle. Bhairav says without hesitation, "There's talk in the village about your children. Something has to be done." Just then, Bavar's patience breaks. "I lost my land, my money, and I couldn't find a wife. On top of that, if a girl is born, you kill her by feeding her opium. That's why I had to bring a girl from another village." Bavar is furious. He kicks the cot hard, slams the door, and storms out of the house. Meanwhile, Savari sits beside the cot, a listlessness in her eyes, the same question on her face, "Is all this ruined because of me?" Then she goes to her room and sits in a corner, crying silently. A little while later, Banwar comes staggering. Sanwari is frightened by the sight of him. But Banwar says nothing. He comes quietly and lies down on the cot, face turned. Then, suddenly, turning over, his eyes fall on Sanwari sitting in the corner. She is still sitting there, crying. Without moving or speaking, Bawur gets up. He slowly approaches her and sits beside her. But poor Sanwari continues to cry, begging Banwar what God has made her into. She apologizes for causing the fight between Banwar and her uncle. Banwar embraces Sawari. Sawari, weeping, tells Banwar that they should run away. But Banwar says he doesn't have the courage and tells him that he had a sister. His mother kept yelling at him to feed the baby. But the uncle left the girl to suffer from hunger, and she eventually died of starvation. Banwar explains that he couldn't do anything then, and he still can't. Banwar, smiling, shares with Savari about his parents. But Savari, sensing his sadness, slowly draws closer to him. Meanwhile, in the middle of the night, Bhairava gets up to drink water. But there's no water nearby, so he moves closer. Just then, he hears Sanvari's voice from the closet, the sound of intercourse. Bhairava peeks through the window and sees Bavar and Sanvari together, close together. He pauses for a moment, but then slowly understands why Banwar is so supportive of Sanvari. In the morning, when Sanvari sits by the stove cooking, Banwar comes out of the closet and bends down to fetch water. Just then, Sanvari quickly gets up and gives him water. She also offers him her dupatta to wipe his face. Bhairav taunts Banwar, saying, "Now this woman does all the work. But why did you forget to keep water at night?" Hearing this, Sauri's face falls. Bavar picks up his bicycle and heads for the fields. Sadly, Sauri brings him some bread. Bavar looks at her. With a slight smile, he says, "Don't be sad. I'll bring something for you in the evening." It's nighttime. Sauri is massaging Bhairava's feet as usual. But today, Bhairava's attitude towards Sauri has changed. Bhairava suggests she massage his shoulder too. Sauri musters courage and massages Tao's shoulder. But Tao now has a dirty look on Sauri. Sauri hesitates, telling Tao that Banrava is about to arrive, should she go to her room. Tao turns his face and says yes, it's okay. Sanwari was busy doing her work in the room. The door was open. Suddenly Bhairava enters and closes the door as soon as he comes. She gets shocked. She quickly gets up and adjusting her dupatta asks if she needs the wire. But Bhairava comes near her without answering. His hand shamelessly says, "I know everything. How do you keep Bawur happy?" "A little happy. Give it to me." Sanwari gets scared and steps back, but Bhairava pounces on Sanwari. Sanwari desperately tries to defend herself, but Bhairava beats her mercilessly until she's half dead. Then, crossing all limits, Tao rapes her. When Bhavan returns in the dead of night, the room is plunged into complete darkness. He calls out to Sanwari repeatedly, but there's no response. Sanwari sits in a corner of the room, her clothes disheveled, her face drenched in tears. Bavar, seeing her in this state, runs to her. He bends down and asks, "What happened, Savari?" Then, in a trembling voice, Sanwari clings to his chest and breaks down, telling him everything about the brutality her uncle inflicted on her. Bavar's eyes turn bloodshot. He loses control. He rushes straight to his uncle and kicks the sleeping Bhairava off the cot. Without a word, he starts beating him like a dog. Tao defends himself with a disgusting remark, saying that it would have been wrong if he had done it with a woman, but he did it with a man who was half woman and half man. Hearing this, Banwar's rage reaches the seventh sky. He throws him to the ground and beats him repeatedly. Hearing the noise, the entire village gathers. People stop Banwar and save Tao. But Bhairav, in front of everyone, screams, "You raised your hand on me for a eunuch. This is his wife." The villagers listen in stunned silence. Bawur simply trembles with anger. He repeatedly tells Tao to shut up and let it be. Now the villagers raise questions. "What is the truth, Bavar? Is your wife really a eunuch?" Bawur says nothing. He just stands silently alone. Tao loudly demands, "Convene a panchayat, and then the right decision will be made." And now the entire village crowds on one side, and Banwar alone on the other. Poor Banwar stands there weeping, while Sanwari weeps on the doorstep. Everything had been going well until now, but now the entire village will find out about Sanwari. And the next morning, the entire village is gathered. The panchayat has been held. One by one, the village boys begin mocking Banwar. Banwar doesn't even spare the eunuch, and Bhairav begins to act. The panchayat members question Banwar, but Banwar simply stands there, silent and composed. A few moments later, the panchayat members grow louder, demanding, Banwar, if you don't speak up now, the women of the village will see for themselves the truth beneath her skirt. Banwar folds his hands and declares, she's not a complete woman, and tries to tell the panchayat members the truth. But then Bhairav's old drama begins again. He refuses to let Banwar hear a single word. As Bawar tries to tell the truth, Tao tries his best to silence him. Crossing all boundaries, he grabs Sanwari's hair and declares, look at her face, anyone would be deceived. Sanwari is once again humiliated in front of everyone, and Banwar, standing behind, watching everything, is furious. But in the crowd, he can't do anything. Bhairav steps forward and approaches Banwar, who folds his hands and says, stop it, Tao, don't insult me anymore. But Bhairav, without listening to him, says, if you live with a eunuch, you're bound to be humiliated, son. In the midst of the panchayat, a man stands up and says, Panchaji, love can happen with anyone. Where does caste, gender, or identity matter? But Bhairav's friend, interrupting him, angrily says, after marriage, physical intimacy is most important. Without it, everything is dishonest. Bavar, who was silent till now, stood holding back his tears and said with a broken heart, my uncle had said so, what if she is there? Let's keep her. She will at least do the household chores. Bhairav denies that moment too. He says this is all fabricated here. The doctor also stands up and says, yes, Bavar came to me to get her infertility treated. Then Bhairav's friend says in front of Bavar, look, everyone, this is the same eunuch. He is her lover. Hearing this, Banwar's blood boils. He angrily grabs her collar and shakes her, declaring, I don't love any eunuch. But then, standing in the middle of the crowd, Sanwari steps forward. Tears welling in her eyes, she takes the blame, saying, I was the one who begged him for mercy. I told him to keep me in the house, and I was the one who seduced Banwar. The entire village falls silent. But the panchayat announces its decision. Sanwari will be expelled from this village, and Banwar, you will have to apologize to your uncle at his feet. Banwar is now helpless. He wants to support Sanwari, but is forced by society and falls to his knees, crying. Just then, Bhairav approaches, smiles, and says, there's still time, apologize. And Banwar, compelled, apologizes to his own uncle. Sanwari picks up her scarf from the ground. She pauses for a moment. Then, as she leaves, she turns back to look at Banwar. Perhaps she wants to say something.